everyone, and welcome to Stories and Scribes. I hope you've been watching my videos, and if you have, thank you so much. Please don't forget to invite and tell your friends about it, your family, your loved ones, everyone you care about, and even your book sisters or your book friends. This is a platform where Christian fiction book is on display, and it's amazing how we enjoy talking about Christian fiction. I love reading Christian fiction, and I enjoy, doing what I'm doing right here. Okay, if you subscribe to my channel, have you put your notification bells on? Yeah, so that you know when the videos are dropping. Have you liked? Have you commented? Just something to show me some love. I would really, really love and appreciate that. Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a book that I loved, and it brought to light certain things about childhood that made me really realize that I have to pay more attention to the way I treat my children, and have to pay more attention to the way I also treat other children, and how their world can be framed by the things and the actions or inactions of myself or people around them. So I'm going to be reading this book by Kara Isaac. She's also an author. Okay, I've read one of her books, Then There Was You, which is an amazing book, and this is the second book I'm reading from her, Start With Me by Kara Isaac. Here, this is her book, and amazing. So we're going to read the synopsis, and I'll just get into the gist of the book. Lacey O'Connor is finally a sure thing for the promotion she spent 10 years working for. But when a scandal rocks her firm, she finds herself on a collision course with one person she spent 5 years trying to forget, only to discover that he doesn't even remember her. Victor Carlisle, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Just say Victor. Victor has spent the last 3 years trying to convince his family that he's no longer the playboy alcoholic who tore their lives apart. When a company merger is announced with a US sister firm, he's presented with the perfect opportunity to prove that he's changed, only to find himself falling for his competition and the one woman his family will never accept. As the competition intensifies, the choice looms between the professional and the personal. Can they find a way beyond their past decisions and present aspiration to take a chance on the one thing they are not looking for? Okay, so let me get into the gist of the book. Kara Isaac is, the book is an amazing book. And we see two people, Lacey and we see Victor. Okay, so from the gist, you know that Victor has been a playboy, and we'll get into the reason why he was. And Lacey has been this focused, determined lady who has been in a professional advertising agency firm for 10 years, and she's due for the promotion. And so a scandal rocked because Victor is in the UK, Lacey is in America. And so a scandal rocked in the UK office where somebody was caught taking bribe, that kind of thing, lobbying for a particular post because they were lobbyists, and it rocked that firm. And so the owner of the firm decided that I'm going to merge the US and the UK companies together. And you know how it is when you're merged, people start fighting for positions in the company. And Victor has been working there for a couple of years, but Lacey has been working there way longer, but they were competing for the same position. Now, what did she do? After some elimination exercises that the owner of the company had done, she took them to a camp where she was going to take them through some team activities, and from there the elimination process will further go. You know how you watch this reality TV like Survivor or Lost or those kind of things where you're eliminated by different tasks when you're dumped in one wilderness or something, to test your survivor skills and different skills that you have. So Lacey and Victor were in the same camp or in the same team. But guess what? Lacey knew Victor. Number one, many years ago, they hooked up, kind of, this young, went to a party and they were making out, that kind of thing. And Victor, because he was then a playboy, that kind of thing. You finish making out with someone, before you go to the bathroom and come, he has already moved to the next person. And she was crushed because, that kind of handsome, popular, that kind of thing gives you that kind of attention. You think that, oh, more, you're the all in all for that moment, but not forgetting that it was his MO to move, dump, and move on. That kind of thing. Okay, so Victor had forgotten her because they were doing it when they were young. So imagine how Victor had forgotten, Lacey had not forgotten. And that singular act of abandonment, of rejection for her, took her way beyond that particular moment into her life. And that was one of the things that was her driving force in life. So the thing is that, see, we have to be careful the things we do to children or the things to do to people that are younger than us, because you don't know how your action or inaction can affect the psyche of a person and model their vision of life or their perspective to life. Imagine Victor had forgotten. Do you understand? Like, he had forgotten, could not even remember her. But Lacey did not forget. So what we do, that's why when you're interacting with people, always be kind, always be thoughtful, always be compassionate, always be empathetic, because you never know how far your actions could go in shaping the person's perspective to life. Okay, and you guess what? She knows Victor. Victor doesn't know her. So you can imagine, first, I'm upset that you cannot even recognize me. And then the second thing, I will do whatever it is to make sure that you don't do to me what happened to me. So imagine that was the way she was interacting. And because you know Lacey, from the interaction, Lacey was like a no-nonsense person who is winning, who is gunning for the position of for that promotion. I know that she will eliminate anyone who is in her path to get there. And not eliminate in form of being wicked or cruel, but like she will stand on her own. She will do what it takes to get to that part. And Victor was not even understanding what his own is, that he just didn't want to disappoint his parents any longer. He had a brother that was getting married, and his brother was like the good one in the family, you know, that kind of thing. And Victor had no idea how he was going to do it, but he just wanted to ensure he got the job and not be fired, so that his life is on track. So fast forward to, they went through the training, they went through all of that, and Victor began to know personal things about Lacey. Lacey also grew up with a hoarder for a mother and an alcoholic for a father. And you can imagine that those were also the things that were driving her to make sure that she did and had the best of life. Imagine growing up with an alcoholic father and a hoarder of a mom who also had some, mental health issues. So imagine how that combination was for her. And you know how, when you have a persona outside, you don't even want people to know where you're coming from. And Victor was able to see that part of her. And I think that what also impressed her was that Victor was not judgy. Like, he didn't judge her because of this, what happened and that, what happened and all of that. And because she grew up in that kind of thing, she also had father taught her how to shoot a gun, self-defense. She had walked in the wilderness or walked in the forest, so she had an idea of how to handle herself around nature. Okay, so they did that, and they went to their separate places. They did the task only for them to wait for who was going to be accepted, who was going to put in what position, and that. And Victor's brother was getting married, yeah? But guess the amazing thing. The person that Victor's brother was getting married to was the cousin of Lacey, and Victor didn't know. So when it was time for the wedding and Lacey was there all dressed up and all dolled up, he was like, oh my God, what is this? She didn't even know, because he didn't even connect it. He didn't remember anything about her. And I think that in that wedding, one of the things that came out was why Victor always behaved the way he behaved. And sometimes when people have a funny character, we are quick to judge them and say, you're irresponsible, you're all this, you're all that. But sometimes, have we even sat down to try and figure out why this is happening? What will make someone just be, in quotes, as irresponsible as you think that they are? And in that scenario, Victor's parents and and his brother began to find out why Victor was behaving like that, because he felt neglected. So when Victor's brother was born, they had to pay so much attention to him because he was not a very strong child. And in that period, their father and mother had some issues, and they had to sort it out. So the Victor had to go and live somewhere else for a while before he came back. I know all those things messed up with him, because he thought that they didn't want him. He thought that the child was more precious than himself. And so I think that like a rebellious attitude came up, because if you don't want me and I rebel, at least it gives you a way to pay attention to me, that kind of thing. So it made me think that the way we treat children is so critical because it forms their thinking when they grow up. See what happened to Lacey. See how that informed her thinking. See what happened to Victor. See what informed his thinking. And all this started when they were really, really young. So I think that, especially in these times and the way parenting is in the 21st century, a lot of conversations and discussions, because if Victor had understood that his brother was sickly and they had to pay more attention to him, or he understood that right now mommy and daddy were not in a good place, we have to sort something out, so you have to go and live with grandpa or going to live with someone else, he would have had an idea about what was going on, even if he had not totally understood the import of what was happening. I think that that is so important in this day and age. We do not begin to shield children and say, oh, you're too young to know what's happening, or you may not get what's going on. Have a conversation. Just try to say, this is the reason why. And let's begin to notice certain things, certain behaviors that are not what you expect from a child, or what you expect from that particular child. Something off on their behavior. Say, what's going on? Oh, mommy, I feel that you're not paying attention to me. They say, oh, I'm sorry that that's happening, but I'm paying attention to your brother because for now he has to go to the hospital. He's sickly. Just something to help them make sense of what is happening to them, because emotions at that age and at that level is so heightened that you think that they don't love me anymore, they don't like me anymore. Just get to conclusions that are not really there, that kind of thing. Okay, so that after they reconciled and all of that, how your choices have consequences, and the things you do have consequences, and they come to bite you. So imagine that being a playboy, and all. One of the things that Victor and his brother quarreled about is this: Victor hooked up with his brother's ex-girlfriend, and how there's this bro code kind of thing, and his brother was pissed, like couldn't see him, couldn't imagine anything to do him. And guess what? After all that reconciliation and his brother trying to come to terms with who he was and trying to understand the kind of person he was, one day he meets the ex-girlfriend of his brother he hooked up with, and guess what? She was pregnant and she had a baby, and Victor didn't know until the girl was a little older. So how do I break the news to my brother that your ex-girlfriend, who I hooked up with, has a baby for you? And how do I tell Lacey, who I'm just reconciling with, that I have a child from the ex-girlfriend of my brother, who I hooked up with? So, the truth is that this life here, every action has consequences. So it behoves on us to think about the actions we're trying to do. It behoves on us to think critically the choices we're about to make and what are the consequences. Because truly, if you're a playboy, there must be an accident or two, and that's what has come to bite Victor back in the future. But Victor was a man to have owned up to that and say that, okay, what do we do? Should I marry you? Should I figure it out? And all of that. And his brother hated him on a different level. But I was happy when I read Victor step up to the responsibility of being a father. And while the girl told him that, see, I told you this not because I need anything from you, he was able to say, this is my child and I would like to be in my child's life, whatever it takes. And I think that was the point where he stood up to be a man. That was the point where he realized that being a grown-up and taking responsibilities for your action is the mature and manly thing to do. And I give him kudos for that. And at the end of the day, they reconciled. Lacey was able to accept that part of him and see how they could, how he could have his daughter in his life and in her life as well, so that it would be easy for everyone, in that dynamic. And I think that Start With Me was so beautiful because Lacey, after going through all the things she went through, now became the president of the company or the CEO of the company. And Victor was totally supportive of her. When I read it, it struck me because the generation we are in, we are seeing more women rise up to greater responsibilities, being CEOs, being founders, being executive, directors and officers, and on all of that. So women are rising up to positions of power. Women are rising up to economic heights. Women are rising up to take charge of things. And I think it takes a great, strong man to marry a great and a strong woman. It takes a man who is not insecure, about his job, whether his job is lower than his wife's job or his wife earns more than him and all of that, to be able to handle himself and not be insecure about that kind of situation. And I'll give it to kudos, and I'll thank Kara Isaac for writing that part of the story, because we have to begin to recognize that if we are raising strong women, we must also raise strong men to recognize that strong women are being raised. So it was such an interesting read, and I really, really encourage you to pick it up, to read it, to buy it, to look for it, just whatever it is. And kudos to Kara Isaac for this amazing book. So I hope you learned a thing or two. Whatever happens, make sure you have conversation with your children so they have an understanding of what's going on. Ensure that you don't just neglect them. Pay attention to our children, their moods, the things that are happening to them, because whatever happens to you when you are growing up has a way of affecting your perspective to life. And the thing is that anyone can change. That's the truth. Once you can identify what the root problem is, you can apply things, guidelines, techniques, just processes to make you become a better person. Everyone can become a better person as long as we love them and show them the truth of who Christ is, who God is, and how God's love can transform a person. Anyone is possible to change. So I hope you enjoyed reading that book and going through the journey with me on Start With Me by Kara Isaac. I hope to see you next episode. Don't forget notification bell so that when the videos drop, you are aware. Subscribe so that you just have me with you, and drop me a comment or two, thumbs up for likes, and just be good, have fun, and take care of yourself. Bye.